And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. Often attributed to the Spanish philosopher George Santayana, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Truth and Reconciliation in Canada is a process that aims to recognize the history and legacy of residential schools and to build relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. We begin today's Open Connection with elected Chief Councillor of Pictou, Glen Bennett.
My name's Glen Bennett. I'm currently the elected Chief Councillor for my community of Pictou. Standing to my right is a close family member. Also, she's an elected official for the Kitsillas Band Council. It gives me great honor to provide the opening welcome. It's important to carry out these traditions, especially in this age and age. When you hear the buzzword truth and reconciliation, what does that mean? To me, it's about relationship building, not only between the First Nations, amongst other First Nations, and I see we have many friends here from the Nisga'a Nation. And this week has been very difficult for my community. We just recently suffered a great loss. And some of you may know the family. Smoigat Satsan, Mel Bevan, passed away, I believe it was on October the 10th. And Mel is an hereditary chief. And he was also our chief negotiator for Kitsillas. My community, we've been in treaty negotiations for well over 30 years. 30 years. That's how long my community's been trying to negotiate a fair treaty between my community, the federal government, and the province. Mel dedicated well over half his life trying to negotiate this treaty. He often said that he didn't want to leave it for the next generation. He wanted to try and conclude it within his lifetime. So our community has suffered a great loss. Our history is an oral history. What I say, hopefully you're going to remember it. Kitsillas is part of the Tsimshian Nation. And there's 7 villages that fall under the Tsimshian Nation. Kitsillas is the furthest inland. And my neighbor, very close neighbor, Kitsimkalam. A lot of the First Nations are closely tied to each other. I have family in Kitsimkalam, the next community further down the coast, Metlakatla, Loch Floams. My home village, where I was born 61 years ago, Kitchatla. We're a matriarch society, so we follow our mother. I come from my mother. We still have very close ties to my mother's home village. Next to Kitchatla, Gitgat, also known as Hartley Bay. And the furthest First Nation community, the Hehe people, they're also known as Kitasoo. Back in 1992, we were under the umbrella of the Tsimshian Tribal Council. We all agreed we were going to work together for a common goal to try and look at advancing and moving our First Nations forward. I've learned very quickly, my 30-some-odd years working for Kitsillas, soon as you throw money on the table, be it from the federal government or the province, you're going to fight amongst yourselves. Because everybody wants a bigger pie. They want a bigger slice for themselves. And that was the demise of the Tsimshian Tribal Council. And from there, we broke off. We became a part of the TFN Treaty Society. Kitsalas, Kitsamkala, Metlakatla, Gitgak, the 4 First Nations. Agreed, we're going to try and work together. Like I said earlier, we're at the final stages of our negotiations. We're anticipating a handshake agreement by the end of this month.
2 other idiots.
And that's all from the hard work of our Smoiget, Satsan. His Christian name was Mel Bevan. Before we carried out the burial of Mr. Bevan, the family lifted the name. You have a Samoyed name. You can't allow that name to die with the individual. So that name was lifted and passed on to his son, Stan Bevan. I don't think Stan's no stranger. You see a lot of his artwork. His uncle, Dempsey Bob. You see their artwork down at the Vancouver International Airport. If you ever have a chance to visit Kitsalas, please do. You'll see 9 totem poles that we raised within the last 10 to 15 years. We have a recreational community hall under construction.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. The Indian Act of 1876 provided funding for buildings on reserves, though these funds were widely criticized for being inadequate and contributing to poor living conditions on reserves. The Act essentially gave Canadian government control over managing reserve lands and allocating funds for buildings on them. Let us return the conversation as Glenn shares what happens when there's a delay in funding.
I can't believe my community is one of the very few communities that doesn't have a gymnasium for the young people to take part in extra activities after school. And basketball seems to be the choice that the young people want to participate in. I'll share with you. We built this hall 3 years ago. It would have cost $9 million. The price tag now, $22 million. $22 million is what it's going to cost for us to build this hall. It's a much needed hall. I'm very honored to have one of our counselors stand beside me. I did see one of our other counselors walked in, and she could maybe identify herself. She's more than welcome to come up here and join us. Councillor Judy Giroux, she's here. She came in the building. There she is. Judy and I both got into politics at the same time. We've known each other. Her family have long ties to our community of Kitsalas. We're all very closely related through blood, through marriage. I see one of our other former elected leaders, and I don't want to put him on the spot, but I think it's important to acknowledge who he is, Mr. Joe Bevan. There he is. Please stand, Joe. Joe's the Kitsalas member. He was very closely related to Mr. Bevan. These type of events are extremely important. It brings industry together. and First Nations who want to be partners in economic development. My community, we're partners with the City of Terrace. We own land up at the airport industrial lands. We're looking at a lot of development for that area. We hope that if there's any ideas, we'd love to hear them. I know we're looking at potentially going to China in December just to start having further discussions with some potential companies that might want to partner up with First Nations. It's all about relationship building. I'm going to put some of our people on the spot because I want them to rise, and so you can see who they are. These people work for our community of Kitsilus. We have a table right in front of us, and if you could please rise and I'll introduce who you are. Tyler West Johnson, James Seymour, Jordan Squires, Clarissa Spencer. I see a very good friend of mine sitting way over to the right there, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. Edison Bolton. If you could please rise, because I won't carry on until you stand up. So these people are all from our community of Kitsilus. You may be seated. They're here to start networking. I have grave concerns about the local economy here in Terrace. One of the biggest employers recently went bankrupt, Skeena Sawmills. That sawmill was there for many years. A lot of our people worked in the sawmill. We have a lot of people that work in the logging industry. In my mind, forestry built Terrace. If there was no forestry, no logging, Terrace wouldn't have been here. Now we have to diversify, to look at other opportunities, to try and generate an economy that will sustain us. Not only the First Nations, but our neighbors, the people we live amongst each other. It's important, because I find if you don't work together, there's often misunderstandings. So we're all about relationship building amongst ourselves, with other First Nations, industry. It's important to look at how we can all be part of an economy that's growing. Our doors are open. We want to look at partnerships where we can partner up. First Nations often come from one industry, the commercial fishing industry. Prince Rupert, at the high point, those canneries were going 24 hours a day. It's sad now. What is caught is hauled directly to Vancouver. There's no processing going on up in this area. And yet, in my mind, it was the First Nations that built that industry. All those 7 villages that I mentioned all had huge fishing fleets in their community, be it seine, gillnet. Growing up in the fishing industry, my late father was a commercial fisherman all his life, right up until he passed away at 82. He was a long-line halibut fisherman. That's what we did during the summer. We didn't go on holidays. We spent those 2 months fishing either with our father, grandfather, uncle. That instills in you the hard work that you have to do. We're here to be networking, talking amongst each other, discussing potential business ideas. On behalf of Kitsilus, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the traditional territory of the Tsimshian people. And Kitsilus is one of those communities that falls under the Tsimshian Nation. We look forward to networking with you.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. It is her firm belief that small business sector is a key to economic driver to any country's thriving economy. Diane Collins' business focus is tailored to support optimization, development, and growth of the micro, small, and medium-sized business sector. Let us return to the conversation with CEO of Kitsilus Economic Development Group, Diane Collins.
Wow, thank you very much, Sarah. I had a whole night last night, so I don't know how much left I have to say, but I really wanted to say thank you very much for all attending. The room is packed. It looks great. We've got lots of opportunity, and I wanted to thank N2N Conference, Lisa Mueller and her team, for constantly putting this together for us in the North. It's an absolute wonderful opportunity for everybody to get together, to network, to know each other, to splash great ideas around, and to get to know your neighbors all across the North. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it, because the networking is really, and the communication is really where we need to be. That's the biggest part of reconciliation. Chief Bennett did a wonderful job welcoming you all to the Tsimshian Nation territories. I won't say much more than that, except that at Kitsilus Economic Development, we are so pleased to see you all here. We have a tour lined up from Kitsilus for you to come and take a look at some of our corporations. So there's a tour later on this afternoon if you're interested. Anyway, welcome, have great fun, and do some amazing networking. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome to you all for our N2N conference, Nation to Nation, this year. And first of all, my appreciation to Lisa Mueller and her team for putting the conference together. This conference has been an annual, I think it says on the banner, a 7th annual, and it's a testament to her vision and her hard work, and we particularly appreciate having it here. So on behalf of Mayor Sean Boutaz, who couldn't be here, I'd like to welcome you from the city. As Sarah mentioned, I'm Deputy Mayor at this point. I'd also like to recognize Sarah as a fellow councillor. I'm sure as MC she'll keep you on track as she does at council. So, as is our tradition, we would first of all like to welcome you to the territory of the Tsimshian people. The Tsimshian people, Kitsilus and Kitsilus, are our friends and neighbors. As Chief Bennett mentioned to you, there are business partners, and we certainly appreciate their advice, their friendship, and their involvement in the community.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
For decades, across many aspects of life in Terrace, he has been quiet and steadfast in his commitment to make things better. Every year, he raises money for community projects, and no task is too big or too small. In this final segment of Open Connection, BC Achievement Community Award winner, Brian Downey.
I'd also like to recognize the efforts or the accomplishments of Mel Bevan. Mel was a friend of the city. He was clearly a driving force, a leader, thought of his people, and had this vision of where the Kitsillas people wanted to go in pursuing their future. Terrace is the business and service center and shopping center for the major industry in the region. And before I go further, I skipped over my notes. I'd like to recognize, he'll be up in a while, Herb Pond, the mayor of Prince Rupert. Also like to recognize the Niska delegation that are here throughout the audience. So going back to Terrace, it's a little promotion here. We're the shopping and medical center for approximately 80,000 residents in the region. Our new $650 million hospital is a testament of the importance of the community and the location to service people in that region. The Northwest Regional Airport serves as the regional airport, bringing businesses and workers into the region for major projects such as in Kitimat and to the mining developments in the north, and people coming and going. Transportation is one of our strengths, and when you're in Terrace, if you get a chance to, you'll see a construction of the inland port that's occurring right in the center of town. That development has the potential for providing intermodal facilities, supporting our industrial park in near the airport. It will provide a location for investment, provide sustainable jobs, and a tax base for the city. The city of Terrace is a small budget city with needs and aspirations well beyond our means. So attracting and working with business and industry is an important role that the city staff and council take on. So just in closing, I'd like to confirm the welcome to the city. I'd also like to, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we're currently in the regional district area E, and from a regional district of Kitimat-Stikine, on behalf of Ted Ramsey and the regional district staff, I'd like to welcome you to their area.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.
They clearly want to talk to you. We want you to, as I say,